Hello and welcome back. My name is Colton from Ankeny Van Builds, and on this week's episode I'm going to talk about all the little things that you should know about the Ram Promaster before you go ahead and buy it. But before we start this week's video, today is not just any other Monday. Today is Memorial Day. So before we start, I do want to talk about this really quickly. One thing that I have never talked about on this channel, and one thing that most of you guys probably don't know about me, is that I am actually in the military right now. I'm in the National Guard, and I fly helicopters part-time for the National Guard right now. And this Memorial Day is going to have a much greater impact to me than it has ever before, because unfortunately this last February we lost three amazing human beings to a tragic helicopter accident right here at home. Their names were CW4 Jess Anderson, CW3 Geoff Laubhan, and CW3 Matt Peltzer. They unfortunately lost their lives in a very tragic helicopter accident just a few months ago. It's been absolutely devastating for everybody. Aviation is such a tight-knit community and we're all such close friends, so for something like that to happen, it kind of shatters your entire world. So this Memorial Day, I'm going to be thinking about those three. I'm going to be thinking about their family members, their loved ones, their friends. So all my thoughts, all my prayers, all my condolences go out to them and to the families of any Gold Star member. So I hope today you guys are enjoying your day off, and I hope that you take time to appreciate and acknowledge the fact that some people gave the ultimate sacrifice for the greatest country on earth. And I hope that you guys take this time to really appreciate that, think about it, and on that, let's just go ahead and start this week's video. Okay, so starting with all the things you need to know before you buy this Ram Promaster, starting with the drive shaft and the drive options. So the Mercedes Sprinter's got a four-wheel drive option. The Ford Transits just came out with an all-wheel drive option. So Ram Promaster is the only option now that is front-wheel drive and only two-wheel drive. So those are your only options as far as drive systems go when it comes to the three main vans people tend to buy for van life. And after having this van for the last 2 years, I could say that I haven't ever really needed four-wheel drive. There's been maybe one or two times where we were driving up to a trailhead that it was in question of if I needed it or not, but so far the Ram Promaster's actually been great. It's handled well in all sorts of conditions. So the two-wheel drive shouldn't be looked at as much of a negative unless you're maybe into like mountain biking or something like that, where you have to go to all these off-grid off-road type places. But if you're just driving around, going on vacation, going on road trips, four-wheel drive isn't always a necessary thing for these vans. So another thing you guys need to be aware of is how high these seats are in the Ram Promaster. So I have a swivel seat on both the driver and the passenger side, so that raises it up about an inch, and I believe it's 1 3/4 inches. So that's pretty significant, and me being 6'2" when I'm driving, if I were to sit with perfect posture, let's see if I can get this, my eyesight is looking basically right at this headboard here. So what I have to do is scoot the seat forward and then recline it back. That way I can have, good line of sight of something in front of me. But if I'm driving somewhere and I gotta look up, I'm hunching forward and leaning forward on the steering wheel. So that comes with a pro and a con. So the con is the visibility is not that great if you are taller, but the pro is when you're sitting on a seat that is this high up, it basically feels like you're in an office chair, so you can go on much longer drives and your feet and your legs and your whole body doesn't feel quite as fatigued as it would if you were sitting with your feet kicked up out in front of you. So for me, I actually prefer the higher seats because it makes longer drives just that much more comfortable. And while we're in the front seat, let's talk about the miles per gallon. So for me, I drive this van mainly around the downtown area of Boise, and then occasionally on super long road trips. So my average is 16.2. So typically when I'm on longer road trips, I get about 19 to 20 miles per gallon if I'm just cruise control on the highway, and then around here a little bit less than that. So overall the average is 16.2, which is actually pretty good for a van this big. A lot of people ask me that question, and a lot of times I actually don't believe that it gets 15 miles a gallon or 16 miles a gallon. Typically people think it's in like the 10 to 12 range, but you know, I've actually been pretty impressed with the miles per gallon on this van. Another thing that should be mentioned is how heavy this slider door is. I talked about it in my last video, and it's mainly because I have this huge glass window on it, but overall these Ram Promaster slider doors are pretty heavy. So when you're inside and you're trying to open this up, you gotta kind of like push it out and then pull it back. And then to get it closed, if you just let gravity do it, a lot of times it won't actually seal, and you'll have, I don't know how many times I've had people jump in the back, close the door, and I've had to tell them, you got to do that again, it didn't close all the way, and then they have to struggle to open it and slam it. Not the biggest deal in the world, but definitely something that over time it gets a little bit old, so something to note about the slider doors. So another thing to mention is the low clearance of these Ram Promasters. Because they are front wheel drive, the van itself sits a lot lower, which comes with a pro and a con. Con being if you're driving off-road somewhere, or somewhere that's got some higher rocks or whatever, there's a chance you could scrape the underbelly of it. But the pro is that it's a lot lower, and I've mentioned this before, because it's a lower profile, you can actually fit under most drive-throughs. So I don't know if any of the vans, as far as the Transits or the Sprinters, are actually able to fit through most of them, but anything under 9 feet for me, I'm totally comfortable driving my van through those drive-throughs. So low clearance can be a good or a bad thing depending on what you're looking for. But also, since it is a low clearance, there's no extra step needed right here. So you can easily just go ahead and step right up into the cargo area of the van. Now, I can't really demonstrate this, obviously, because it's a beautiful sunny day, but this beam right here, I wish Ram would come up with something that would help with the rain. So whenever it rains, it just pulls up, it just rolls right off, pulls up, and then drips right here onto the countertops every single time. It drips into the van. So I wish that they had like a little lip or something to divert the water so that it wouldn't do that. It makes being in the rain or somewhere like that super annoying, because every time you open the slider door, a bunch of water will just pull up and drip right onto your counters and on your floors, and it's just kind of a mess. Now, another question I get asked all the time is the difference between the 2500 and the 3500, and from what I've been told and what I've looked up, there really isn't a difference. It's the same engine, it's the same body, it's the same dash and everything. The only difference is that it has an upgraded suspension, so it's like a $300 or $400 upgrade for a better suspension, and that's about it. It's just the amount of weight that can be held in the back. I know a lot of people think that the 2500 and 3500 has to do with the engine, but from what I have looked up and what I've read, that is not the case. So I always get asked what engine is in the Ram Promaster. So it's got a 3.6 liter V6 engine, and to be honest, I really don't know anything about engines, so quick Google search, 3.6 liter V6 engine, 280 horsepower, and it's a 6-cylinder automatic. That's all I know. I really don't know what any of that stuff means, to be honest, but for car guys and engine guys, that's what the Ram Promaster has. And for the towing capacity and the cargo load capacity, towing capacity is 6,800 pounds. That is if you have the trailer hitch installed. And the max payload for the inside is 4,256 pounds. So something to keep track of and be aware of when you're buying your materials and building out your vans. And for these last two things, this is not something I have personally experienced, but I've read a lot of forums that this driver's side headlight will get moisture trapped underneath and often shorts the wire, and even the dealer that sold me this van mentioned that, saying a lot of people bring this van back to the dealership to get that fixed. I personally have never had that problem, and I live in an area that snows and rains a lot, but I felt like it was worth mentioning since a lot of people have had that issue. And again, not from experience, but on the forums I heard that some Ram Promaster's transmissions have given out before the 36,000 miles, which would be very unfortunate. It hasn't happened to me. I haven't heard it happen to a lot of people, but again, I think it's definitely something worth mentioning. So I hope this answers a lot of your guys' questions if you're doing research and looking for what van you want to buy. This is just some basic information on the Ram Promaster. So I hope you guys found it helpful. I hope it helped lead to your decision. So on this, I'm going to end this video. Again, remember, happy Memorial Day. Hope you guys are enjoying your time off. Be grateful for the people that gave their life and gave it all for this country. And just so you guys know, for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be unavailable. I'm going to be out doing Army things for the next 2 weeks out in the desert, so I will not be able to post a video. So unfortunately, you won't see me next week or the week after, but 3 weeks from now, I will post another video, and I will look forward to seeing you guys then. Peace.